In Texas, average conviction rate, 99.6. Would you recognize a police state if you were in one? The United States houses approximately 3% of the world's population. It houses approximately 50% of the world's population of inmates. Would you recognize a police state if you were in one? This is the worst police state the world has ever seen, and we don't have a clue. That's why I'm going after this.
But specifically, where is Tom DeLay in the process right now?
Now, I put this writ in Tom DeLay's hand. Now he knows that this local prosecuting attorney took him out of office absolutely illegally. I suspect Tom DeLay is really unhappy right now. Now, I'll say this on the air. I have no compassion or love for Tom DeLay. He's a politician. The purpose was his due process rights were being violated like everyone else's. If he realizes how dangerous this corrupt situation is, the problem all these corrupt politicians have is they can't protect themselves from one another. If he goes to the Republican Party and they realize how vulnerable every one of them are, we could well get them to come down and put pressure to stop this practice, in which case they'll open the door for you and I to go down with criminal complaints against public officials, get them in front of grand juries, and that will change everything.
And, of course, grand juries, you have the ballot box, you have the jury box, the grand jury box. If you go back 50 years ago, grand juries were pretty much independent and very powerful and represented the people. Now they've been turned into creatures of the prosecutors, but just because they operate like they own them doesn't mean that that's legal or legitimate. But my question is, where is Tom DeLay in his cases right now?
He hasn't contacted me since I gave him the documentation.
No, but where is his case?
Oh, his case, they're in jury selection right now, and they're trying to prosecute him for a felony. So he didn't take a deal.
And you've looked at the case, he was not guilty of it?
Whether he's guilty or not, I'm not sure. But from reading the case, there's nothing in the case that would indicate it.
And what are they claiming he did?
Oh, they're claiming he took money under the table and then took that money and invested it in different ventures of his own. But from what I could see, it was iffy at best. The fact that Tom DeLay is willing to take this to court, he's pretty sure he's going to win it. But I suspect now, with the problems that the prosecutor's going to have maintaining due process, he's got a much bigger chance of winning it.
But why isn't Tom DeLay bringing up the issue that the complaint was brought by a political opponent?
Most likely his attorney has fed him a story. But I can't speculate.
Well, I mean, I've had Dick DeGuerin on a few times. He defended the Waco folks. He's a pretty good guy.
But he lost.
Well, that's because because the judge that ran the Waco operation was over the court. I mean, the judge that was over the criminal trial was over the civil.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I had heard good about Dick DeGuerin. I didn't understand why he didn't look at this and say, this is an absolute open door to get this thrown out. Unless he had a strategy I didn't know about, which was bring this up at trial and force a dismissal at trial. That way they can't come back after it.
And that might be why he's mad at you for disclosing his secret weapon.
He could have told me.
Well, he doesn't know you're out there, Randy.
I really didn't care about his position.
No, I understand. You're just pointing out the due process and how they're violating that.
I'm concerned about what they're doing to you and me and everybody. In Texas, average conviction rate, 99.6. Would you recognize a police state if you were in one? The United States houses approximately 3% of the world's population. It houses approximately 50% of the world's population of inmates. Would you recognize a police state if you were in one? This is the worst police state the world has ever seen, and we don't have a clue. That's why I'm going after this.
Well, it is crazy how they selectively prosecute innocent people and then leave corrupt people alone. Have you heard about this Jack Conway case where his brother is a prosecutor? He's the Attorney General of Kentucky running against Rand Paul. and they were going to SWAT team his brother for reported narcotics trafficking and usage. That was the alleged thing. And then the head narcotics officer warned his brother and then warned Conway, and then his brother and the detectives lied to other investigators, and now they admit all this in the newspaper, but it's not a big issue. That sounds like obstruction of justice.
This is something that citizens need to go down to grand juries with criminal charges against these guys. The nice thing about criminal charges, you're absolutely protected if you file criminal charges. Anyone who interferes with you, they wind up with criminal charges against them. We don't have time on this show, but I have a whole process for going after one person, and when someone steps in the way and tries to protect them, you forget the first one, go for the second one. And eventually you want to go for a district judge and drag the district judge down to the grand jury. And when you get the district judge to the grand jury for protecting the district attorney from prosecution, the district judge is going to be really unhappy with the district.
But how can they be in the newspaper admitting they lied and admitting they warned him, and then they're not instantly indicted?
They're not afraid of us. Thomas Jefferson said, when the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. The government does not yet fear the people.
Well, that's like these mortgages, and now we'll start getting into that. I mean, with these mortgages, they're just out in the open, Randy, like that lawyer said, just engaged in total fraud, and they know it.
Yes, they bought the courts. And what I tell people when I present this, courts are absolutely corrupt. You sue in the court, you sue pro se, they're going to rule against you at every turn. You have to expect that. They are so corrupt.
But why are people having victory, though, even though that's happening? You're forcing them to fight it, and they've got so many things they're stealing, they don't have time to deal with it. But then if you go back at them and sue them, but I mean, look at these cases here, Randy. It's all over the Wall Street Journal. They're winning these cases against the banks.
Here's the problem with the guys who bought the judges. The judges are so corrupt, they can't even trust them. Politics, there's three kinds of power. Politics, money, and votes.
And guns.
And guns. Right now, votes are becoming the big issue for the politicians. The politicians are exerting influence on the courts, and the courts are betraying the ones that bought them. And they're setting a precedent for down the road. Once this election is over, every member of the House of Representatives is up for election. They're going in with 11% approval rating. They can hear the toilet flushing. They're doing everything they can to distract the public from them and get them looking at some other enemy, while the politicians who created this mess put on a show of trying to do something to clean it up, just long enough for us to vote for them so they can go back to business as usual. The problem is, once they open this legal door, they set the precedent. They get this train on the track and they can't get it off.
The precedent for banks to take anybody's property they want is one precedent, or the precedent that people started to win, and now people understand it's a fraud.
Yes, and I read some figures on the judges' retirement funds are also invested in these consumer mortgages. The funds values have went from $6.8 billion to $2.3 billion in the last 4 years.
So the judges have been robbed.
So now the judges are realizing that they screwed themselves. And now they need to do something to find a way to recover. And we have a number of unions and other retirement investment funds that are suing the lenders to try to recover some of these monies that they've lost.
Okay, we've given some of the basics. In the next few segments, I want you to go through your document cam presentation, but we're about to go to break. We've got the free video streams again today up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com that we do every once in a while. We've been doing a little bit more lately because this is also important so people can actually see these graphs and information. Will all then be archived at PrisonPlanet.tv a few hours after the show ends. We're going to break in 1 minute, Randy. I want you just to hurriedly go through the facts and figures, because you're about to show people the fraud. First, they've got to see the fraud. Then you'll talk about the remedies that have been having the most success.
Yes. The Glass-Steagall Act was the start. In the 80s and 90s, Bush and then first Clinton and then Bush removed the Glass-Steagall Act and another act that protected borrowers from the lenders. Well, under the guise of making housing available to the poor, they took these protections off. And about the same time, they started securitizing notes. Well, it's created an opportunity for people to go into business as mortgage companies, and they didn't care about the mortgage. They create the mortgage and sell it. They get their money, take profit, walk away. So it made it profitable to sell these to investors. And the more expensive the loan product, the more profit they made.
All right, we're going to explain all this and then get into all the facts, figures, and numbers. Folks, the mortgages are nothing. That's just the beginning, the root of the fraud. We're going to look at this whole tree coming up.